As I've consulted with individuals and businesses on Pinterest, I've been asked lots of different questions. But what I've found is that many of those people all have the exact same question or a variant of that question. So in today's video, I'm going to be compiling the most common questions that I get asked when I'm consulting individuals or businesses and put them in one simple video so that you can go through and hopefully get all of your common questions answered in this video and save you time and money. So let's just jump right into the first question, and that is, does it matter what time I pin? And the simple answer to this question is no, it does not matter what time you pin. However, you will see increased engagements during certain times of the day. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you should be posting during those times of engagement, but it's something that you can test. And let me show you what I mean by seeing certain engagement rates during the time of day. So if you come into your analytics, and the only way that I've found to see this is if you come over to the last 24 hours here. So you do date range last 24 hours, you can see, and then change this metric to engagement rate. You can see this will show you the engagement rate by hour for a specific day. So this was yesterday, which was a Sunday. And you can see actually the highest engagement point here was 4.96%, and which was at 8 p.m. UTC, which if I look at that for my specific time zone was 2 p.m. on a Sunday. So what you can do is you can go through and kind of track this day by day and see which time you are getting the most engagement, and you can try posting during those times. So you can take note of these engagement rates here and possibly post during those times. But generally speaking, I just post at any specific time. And then when my audience is on, they will go through and see those pins in their feed. The next question is, do followers really matter on Pinterest? And here's what I say about that. Followers represent a small amount of the total reach that you have inside of Pinterest. And all of that is a fancy way to say is no, followers on Pinterest don't really matter. What you should focus on more is your actual monthly engagement numbers and monthly reach that you are having inside of Pinterest. That is a far better metric to measure the success of your marketing on Pinterest versus how many followers you have. And also the quality of your followers is certainly more important than the quantity of followers. Question number 3 is, how often should I be pinning? And I'm going to kind of give you an answer that probably a lot of people don't want to hear, but the answer should be whatever is sustainable for you and your business. This is because consistency is more important than the actual amount of times that you pin. For example, if you say that for the next year, you're going to pin 2 to 3 times a week, every weekend, week out, as opposed to somebody who goes in and says, hey, this month I'm going to post 1,000 pins and then I'm going to completely burn out and then not post the rest of the year. The person who consistently pins and shows engagement on Pinterest is going to have better results. So whenever somebody asks me this question, I generally recommend starting with 2 to 3 pins a week. Fill that out, see how that goes. If that feels sustainable, it feels like something you can do for at least a long period of time, say a year, then keep with that cadence. If you feel that it's not enough, then go through and the next week bump it up to maybe 5 pins a week. And then if that feels good, maybe bump it up to daily pin. Now, I will say from personal experience and working with other accounts, honestly, the best cadence, if possible, if you're actually producing good content, is posting daily to 2 times a day. But once again, that's only if it's sustainable for you and something that you can see yourself doing over the long run. If not, stick to posting 2 to 3 times a week. You'll still see growth from that. Which kind of leads us to our next question, which is it possible to pin too much in Pinterest? And the answer to this is no. However, I do think after, posting 5 or more times a day, you do kind of see diminishing returns. However, one thing that is important to note, if you are going to be doing mass amounts of pins on a daily, monthly basis, whatever it may be, is if you are using a scheduler, which if you are doing mass amounts of pins, I'm assuming you are, that you are using one that is approved by Pinterest. This is important because if we look at the policies inside of Pinterest, specifically about spam, and we look at the very first bullet point, you can see, don't use automation tools that hasn't been explicitly approved by Pinterest. This includes all unauthorized services that automatically perform actions on your behalf. You can find information and approved tools on partners' websites here. So you can go to this link and it will give you a list of those approved partners. For automating pins, the 2 tools that I personally recommend is Tailwind. That's the one that I use the most. And then Canva as well is also an approved partner. So if you're just looking for a quick 2 tools that you can use for automation, those are probably the 2 that I would recommend. If not, you can go through this list and look at all the different partners that they have inside of here. So to sum that all up, no, it's not possible to pin too much if you are using an approved automation tool. If you are using a non-approved automation tool and you post too much, you will get yourself flagged and probably your account shut down. And this next question is one that maybe some people have not thought about, but I get asked pretty often. And that is, should I delete underperforming pins? The answer to this question is no, you should not delete underperforming pins. There's really no negatives to having them there. And also with Pinterest, the way that the algorithm works, you never know when a pin is going to take off. I've had pins that were quote unquote underperforming for 6 months, and all of a sudden they started ranking inside of Pinterest and getting tons of clicks and traffic coming through them, or they went through and they actually were part of some sort of trend or news different search term and started ranking as well. So I never recommend deleting an old pin. There's just really no benefit to doing that. And there are lots of positives to keeping your pins on your profile. Which leads us to our next question about getting found. And that is question number 6. How do you rank your pins and get found on Pinterest? Now, when it comes to this question, there's 4 different things that you should understand when it comes to the algorithm and what the algorithm looks for. When Pinterest decides which pins should show up at the top of the results page, they're looking for these 4 different things. 1, the domain quality. Domain quality is the experience that the user is taken to after they click on the pin. They're looking for things such as site speed, for not being bombarded with a bunch of pop-ups, and that the user is actually having a good experience after they've clicked off of that pin onto your ad. So ask yourself when you're creating pins, is the landing page or the page where I'm sending people to after they click the pin a good experience or a bad experience? The second thing you should be looking at, which comes at no surprise, is the actual pin quality. The click-through rate of the quality, the engagement rate, the amount of people that are saving that pin is a huge indication on which content Pinterest should be showing at the top of the results. And spoiler alert, down the road, we're gonna be talking a little bit more about this question, how to design pins that actually convert. The third thing that Pinterest is looking at that I think a lot of people overlook as well is the actual pinner quality. Now, this comes down to your actual profile, how much engagement you are doing inside of the platform. I think there is a lot of value in actually going through and engaging with other people's pins, commenting, acting like a real user instead of having 100% automation where you're actually never really logging into your Pinterest account. And the fourth thing that Pinterest looks for when deciding which pins rank is topic relevancy. And this makes sense that when a user goes in and types in chicken recipes inside of Pinterest, that user expects to get chicken recipes listed out. And there's lots of different ways that Pinterest decides which your pin is actually about a chicken recipe, namely the images, the keywords that you put inside there, the description, the title, other things like that. And so you want to make sure that you are optimizing all of those different options to show up for a specific keyword. Question 7, should I repin other people's content? Now, if you followed along on any of my other videos, you know the answer to this question, and the answer is yes. Pinterest was designed for you to put other people's pins into boards and organize them and to repin. It shows that you are an active user inside of Pinterest. So yes, go through and repin other people's content that is related to your content into those boards. The only time I tell people not to go through and do that is if you are an e-commerce company or for whatever reason you don't want your brand to have other pins inside of there. If it's like a very strict brand, then no, unfortunately you can't go through and do that. But I think there are huge advantages and a lot of people miss out by not repinning other people's content. Now, this doesn't mean go through and pin other people's content as your own. It means repin their content so that you give them the credit and that their pin is inside of your boards, and then you mix it in with your content as well. It just gives you more likelihood to rank boards inside of Pinterest. Now, this next question is kind of similar to how do I create pins that actually rank inside of Pinterest, but going a little bit more narrow on this is where should I actually use keywords inside of Pinterest? Now, when it comes to utilizing keywords, there's one place that I think is probably the most important to have your keyword, which makes sense, and that is actually in the title of your pin. The next most important place is to have it in your description somewhere. Now, this doesn't mean go through and keyword stuff that into your title and pin as many times as you can, but go through and sprinkle it in there and make it an actual cohesive title and description in the pin. And then other places where you can add keywords is you can actually name your files. So when you go through and download the pin, you can name that a specific keyword. There's lots of debate on whether that helps or not, but I always do it just in case to give Pinterest even more data, more metadata about what that pin is about. And then of course you will want to go through and sprinkle in keywords on your board descriptions, in your profile description, and in your profile headline as well. And inevitably, after talking about where to put keywords, people will often ask, well, how do I know which keywords to actually use? How do I find those keywords? What are the best keywords for my specific niche? And there are actually 3 different methods that you can utilize to find keywords. The first being if you just come over here to the search bar and let's just type in chicken as an example, because we've been talking about chicken here. You notice when you type in chicken, let's say that that's your niche, Pinterest will then go through and auto recommend lots of different ideas for you. So these could all be specific keywords or pins that you can go through and create. Example, chicken breast recipes, chicken thigh recipes. And then you can go through and do this exact same thing. And then instead of just doing chicken, you can do chicken A, and then it will give you all the things that start with chicken and an A, and then go through and do that for the entire alphabet, basically. Another option is utilizing the Pinterest keyword tool inside of the Pinterest ads tool. You don't actually have to go through and create an ad to create this, but you can go through and click inside of here and type in chicken as well. And then you can see it will come up with a lot of different keywords and kind of give you an idea of the monthly search volume here. No exact results. And then the third option for keyword research requires a paid tool, but this is actually my favorite. You can get this for one payment, which is nice. It's not like a recurring thing. Pretty affordable. You can do the same thing here and type in chicken, and then you click on this, and then this will automatically do the A to Z search for you, and you can see it will give you a ton of different keywords and the current rank for those. So this is the fastest way to do keyword research. You can pick this tool up for like under, I think, $50 basically, and that's like a lifetime license there. So that is an option, but you have 2 free options, then a paid one. This is personally what I use. And I, of course, will leave a link to this pin inspector down below. So now we understand where to put our keywords and how to find high performing keywords, but inevitably the next question that usually comes up is, well, what type of creative actually performs well on Pinterest? And in order to answer that question, I figured it would just be easier to show you or give you a resource that you can take and reference whenever you need. So down below in the description, you can see I have just this file that you can get for free of Pinterest creative that works, and it has lots of different examples on pins that you can create in specific niches. So go through and check that out down below in the description if you wanted to get your hands on this. Now on to question 11, and that is, should I use hashtags in Pinterest? And the answer to that question is no. Hashtags currently don't do anything inside of Pinterest. If I was making this video 3, 4, 5 years ago, the answer would have been yes. But now hashtags don't do pretty much anything inside of Pinterest. And to be honest, in my opinion, they look kind of tacky and just don't do anything. So no, don't use hashtags. Question 12, is it okay to reuse content on Pinterest? Now, before I answer this question, I do want to define what reuse content on Pinterest means. When I say reuse content, I'm meaning your own content. Reuse your own content on Pinterest. If you are reusing somebody else's content, please get their permission. Don't go through and steal people's content. But when it comes to reusing your content on Pinterest, there are multiple times where I will take the same image, I will put a new overlay on it, I will tweak it in some other way, and then pin that image multiple times. So it is 100% okay to go through and reuse content on inside of Pinterest. Pinterest does prioritize what's called fresh pins or fresh images. So it's important to have a mix of fresh content and then reuse content profile, but there's nothing wrong with reusing it. And it helps you actually have a longer shelf life when you are making videos or photos, whatever it may be. Question 13 is, should I create a personal Pinterest account or a business Pinterest account? And the answer is, you should always choose a business account, whether you are an individual, a company, whatever it may be. And the reason is very simple. 1, it's free to go through and create a business account. And 2, you can see it gives you access to so much more. It doesn't limit your reach by any means by having a business account. The most important thing is it actually gives you insights and analytics for your business account. So if you're using a personal one, you won't really have any insights on what's actually working with your pins. So every time, 100% do a business account. If you already have a personal account, you can easily switch it over to a business account, which is really nice. So always go with a Pinterest business account. And this next question is a question that I actually kind of hate, but I do get asked a lot. And that is, what is the best niche for me to go with on Pinterest? And the answer to this question is, the best niche is whatever one you actually are passionate about or have inside knowledge about. This is because it will allow you to have an edge on your competition and actually create content that is valuable. So ask yourself, what am I passionate about? What can I see myself creating content for a long time? Now, I will show you this little cheat sheet of top niches that I've identified inside of Pinterest in case that is helpful. But just know this isn't a catch-all list here, but this is just some of the ones that I have found are useful inside of Pinterest. So pause the video right now, slow it down, whatever you need, take a screenshot of this. Here's some of the popular niches inside of Pinterest. The next question kind of has the same answer as the hashtags, but that question is, how important are Pinterest group boards? A lot of people stress about getting access to group boards or collaborating in these group boards. And to be honest, if this was, once again, 3 years ago, they would be very important. 4 or 5 years ago, very important. But now group boards have little to no value. I feel like Pinterest has kind of deprioritized them. And honestly, I never utilized group boards. I think I maybe have access to 1 or 2 that I've created just to experiment, but they really don't do anything for you. So just focus on creating your own boards and getting as much content in them as possible. And the last question that we'll be going over that a lot of people ask, and that is, what tools can I use to grow faster inside of Pinterest, make the process easier, something along those lines. And if you're looking for the best tools to use inside of Pinterest, I recommend checking out this video right here. It actually goes through the 7 tools that I use the most inside of Pinterest, and that'll walk you through how to use those as well. So if you are looking for faster ways to grow and the best tools, I will see you in that video right there.